Hey guys, it's Vince and Drew with Power 5 Fanatics, and we're going to do a quick video here. We're going to give you some takeaways from last week, week 13 in college football, and some thoughts also going into this huge Thanksgiving rivalry. It's a hard word to say, rivalry.
Yeah, it's kind
week
of a hard little rivalry week
in college football. I'll start, Drew, with last night the college football rankings came out, and everybody, I guess they watched our video and they said, well, Power 5 Fanatics has had Ohio State at number one for about, what, a month and a half or so?
Yeah, I can't remember when.
Maybe 2 months, I
I
don't
think
know.
we had Alabama and Clemson at number one right before then, but yeah.
Anyways, they did finally put Ohio State in the one slot with their win over Penn State. Some people were saying, well, it wasn't the greatest win over Penn State, but, Penn State's a solid program. LSU, of course, they played Arkansas and beat them pretty handedly. They did allow Arkansas to score 20 points, which is a little bit of an eyebrow raiser. But anyways, there was enough. They had seen enough to say, okay, Ohio State is the number one team. Normally, you would think, well, hey, does it really matter? I mean, it's kind of like the NFL. All we need to do is get to the playoffs, whether we're a wild card or not. College, you would think is the same way, but it's really not, since it's condensed just to those four teams, because there's a three-headed monster of Clemson at 3, and whoever's in that 2 spot, which is LSU right now, that's who they're going to be playing if everything stayed the same.
It's tough out.
Yeah, and that's pretty tough in the semifinal round.
Yeah.
So I think this year it really does matter who number 1 and number 2 are, and just because of that, I think everybody else would much rather play the 4, whether it's Georgia or Alabama
Utah,
or Oklahoma or whoever.
Baylor, whoever. Minnesota.
It doesn't really matter. You can start whoever, and they'd rather play them. But that's one of my takeaways, at least from the college football rankings.
Yeah, I agree. It does matter this year who is the number 1 seed versus number 2 seed. There's just a pretty big cavernous gap, in my opinion, between the top 3.
Yes.
And then number 4, but there's some pretty good number 4 teams too. So it's not just going to be a cakewalk.
1, 2, and 3 are heads and shoulders above.
But I agree. My takeaway is, of course, we had Oregon ranked pretty highly. I mean, we thought pretty highly of Oregon.
I think we had them at 6 last week,
or maybe even higher.
I think it was 6. We had Alabama 5 last week. We had them at 6.
Okay.
But anyway, that's pretty high.
We had them at some high standings, in our mind. We knew that their offense, had some issues, but we thought that their defense was pretty good, which it has been.
Yeah, they've had points in the season where you're like, okay, what are these guys out west doing? I mean, they were playing great for a while. They had a 5-game streak where they gave up 25 points. I don't care who you're playing. That's
pretty elite.
That's elite.
Pretty elite. But their offense kind of been up and down. They put up a lot of points against USC. I think they scored in the 50s in that game. But then, in a few games, they didn't score as many.
The defense finally failed them against Arizona State.
Yeah, and this was a game where they played Arizona State. We kind of felt like this could be a potential trap game, as far as Arizona State's one of the, they haven't been playing as good lately. But, beating Oregon, you can definitely say they've been playing pretty good. And
Jaden Daniels is kind of coming into his own. I mean, he had a 400-yard passing game, 4 touchdowns, I believe.
So and they get up on them pretty quick. And then, we kind of saw Oregon's resilience there at the end where they tried to kind of come back there and they did make it a game, but they weren't able to come out on the side that they wanted to. And the defense kind of failed them. Well, they lost that game, and it's kind of opened the door to some chaos here going into rivalry week. We could see some stuff. And beyond that, this is just going to be an interesting week in and of itself because there's there's several games that either decide a division or they're playing an underdog that could, a favorite's playing, the rival that could literally beat them. And that could definitely change up the way that the playoff works too.
With Oregon losing, 2 things can happen here. You can have Utah can win out, beat Oregon in the championship game. They're probably going to get that 4 spot, but I don't think it's a slam dunk the way it was. I think that's what you're getting at, Drew.
Right.
Is that
I think
before it was going to be one of those 2 teams. It was going to be in the 4.
Pac-12 team was going to have a real opportunity.
Now it's not a slam dunk
because they were going to get to have the opportunity to win out and then play and beat an 11-1, on the other side. That's a great
now
way.
if Utah wins, I don't think it's as guaranteed that they're going to be in there. They might even have to have some help, or they might need some style points. They may need to beat Oregon by 3 touchdowns or something. I don't know what they need to do, but it's not just as cut and dry as it was.
Yeah.
And obviously it's going to help out Alabama and Oklahoma and some of those teams that need some chaos. And
They're still in a great spot, Utah is, because they've done their job on their side. They've beat the teams they need to, besides, they lost to USC, which is turned out to not be that bad of a
And they're
loss.
peaking at the right time.
They're
Utah.
peaking at the right time. Their offense is looking better. Their defense is playing,
Very
great.
Good. Yeah.
But it's just opened the door to some of these other teams. At this point in time, I don't close the door on the potential of Baylor being if they win out and they beat Oklahoma, there's going to be some stuff that happens.
Especially if they
here.
beat them good. I think that they would probably need to do something like that, like really beat them down like they did Texas maybe.
Yeah. And don't close the door on Minnesota either.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have a great resume if they can win out, because they're going to have to play. I think they have them at Wisconsin number 15. I think that's where the playoff has them, or something like that. They're going to have to beat them. That's at home. That's a winnable game.
Yeah.
They're an underdog by 3 points, and then they're going to have to go beat. It's Ohio State.
It's not going to be easy, but if they do it, you're going to have to consider them definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of ands, if, and buts about
It's
these
going to be interesting the way
scenarios.
this works out in the next week and a half. My other, this would be more just my thoughts, not really a takeaway, but how big this Michigan-Ohio State game is this weekend for just the Michigan fan base, for Jim Harbaugh, just the program in general. If they win this game, I think it just changes everything for their program. It's going to help recruiting. It's just the Wolverines are going to be just more of a brand than they were, or they have been, because lately they haven't been that brand they want to be. But if they lose, I don't say necessarily Harbaugh's going to lose a job. I think he may have to win the bowl game though, to keep it, because that's my take on it. If they lose, that's not a bad loss. Ohio State is the best team in the nation right now. I think most people would say that. And if you lose to them at home, that's not the end of the world. But I think he probably will have to win the bowl game to keep his job maybe. That's kind of what it's gotten to.
Yeah.
And I really I'm not a Michigan fan by any means, but I've liked the resilience they've had this year, because they could have just folded the tents and ended up 7-5 or something, and
Absolutely.
they didn't do that.
No, really the coaching job here that Harbaugh and staff has kind of put together, Josh Gaddis and all of those guys, to keep this team together. Starting with losing to Wisconsin and then being down 21-3 to Penn State. Mm-hmm. Like you said, they could have folded. They didn't even have to show up anymore, because they could have thought that their goals were over with, but they were able to continue to come together, and this offense has really bounced back.
They've been the comeback team of the year for me.
Yeah.
At least if you go from the midpoint to where we are now, either them or Notre Dame, but I'd probably have to give it to Michigan. If they win Saturday, then you definitely have to give it to them, but because that would just be so huge for that school.
This game really has like a kind of a seesaw type of an effect to it. Just based on the perception of Michigan. It's more on Michigan. Ohio State doesn't have as much to lose here.
No, they're still in the championship.
And they're going to make the playoffs, even unless they just get blown out by Michigan. They should make the playoffs, especially if they win their conference.
If they win the conference, I'd have to say they're in, because they're 1 right now. How far are they going to drop? If they drop to 4 and then they win the conference, they're going to be in.
So they don't have as much to lose. Of course, they'd love to beat Michigan an 8th time in a row. That's their rival, and that's the team they hate. But Michigan's got the stuff to lose and the stuff to gain here. And the perception of this,
I think it'll be close. I'm thinking somewhere in the 37-30 range.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a close game. And I think the line's reflective of that. But it's just, they're going to be the best team Ohio State has met this year. I can't speak here. But they'll be the best team Ohio State's met. And they're doing it on the road. It's not going to be easy for them at all.
And I think, Ohio State, they kind of showed a few chinks in the armor last week. We still obviously think they're the number one team in the country because we have them at number one, and we think that they're, about a 6-point favorite against pretty much everybody in the country right now.
Yes.
Just, we don't run the numbers, but just kind of on the eyeball test and everything. But they did show a few chinks, and I've heard some things about maybe Justin Fields not being completely healthy. I've heard that he has like a wrist issue, maybe some other things. And are they really going to want to risk Justin Fields? And I mean, this is a huge game for them too. Don't get me wrong here. Don't twist, what I'm saying here. This is a huge game for Ohio State too, but they still have to go to the conference championship game. They still have a playoff to play. They're trying to win the whole thing. And that should be their goal at this point. Are they really going to want to unleash Justin Fields in this game? Maybe they will. I think also last week they ran J.K. Dobbins 36 times. Are they going to want to do that again right before the playoffs and the conference championship? I don't think so. So who knows what this offense could look like on Saturday. But they're going to have to go on the road, put on the white jerseys, and go play Michigan. That's going to be tough. So this is a big game for both these teams, and I'm extremely excited to see what happens. Final takeaway I have is, really even just last week, we were talking about Alabama, how, they lost LSU, and they really didn't look that good doing it. They kind of came back at the end there because
it really wasn't close at any point.
Tua, I think, had a bomb to Devontae Smith.
3 minutes
I think
left.
It was Devontae Smith.
It wasn't close, really.
It really wasn't that close, but they kind of stayed in there. And then, of course, they lost Tua against Mississippi State. Now they don't have Tua, and they're putting Mac Jones. Before they played, just even last week, we were kind of counting them out a little bit. I mean, we kind of knew that they were one of the teams that had a great shot.
The Oregon loss obviously has brought them back into the discussion.
But the Oregon loss has opened the door to a lot of people.
And anything else that happens this week, I mean, they just got to beat Auburn. They can beat Auburn by 1 point, and they got a real good shot of getting in there.
They may not even have to go to a conference championship again. I mean, they did this a couple years ago.
They did in 2011. And Oklahoma State beat they lost to like TCU or somebody.
Or Iowa State is who it was.
And then they got Alabama backed in. But it's looking like that could happen again.
And I think they did it in 2017 too, because Georgia played Auburn in the.
You're right.
And then Georgia beat Auburn.
Right.
So they weren't even in that game either, and they backed their way into it. So at this point, they may be the one team that doesn't have to win their conference to get into this thing, just because they position themselves.
They're the only
so
team
well.
that has a possibility of doing that.
Well,
I shouldn't say that. Other than, I mean, if Ohio State didn't win, they're probably going to be in.
Yeah, that's true. But they'll be in a conference championship game.
Well, you're right.
Alabama won't be.
You're right.
Now, it will also matter what happens with Georgia because, like I said in a video earlier this week, this last playoff ranking is going to be the most important one so far. Where are they going to have Georgia? Where are they going to have Alabama? Where are they going to have Utah, Oklahoma, Baylor, Minnesota? Where are they going to have these teams? They put Georgia at number 4, and they got them ahead of them. If Georgia can somehow beat LSU, then both those teams, I think, will probably be in the playoff. LSU and Georgia, and Alabama won't be.
I agree.
But if LSU does what they're probably supposed to do, which I don't know how much the line's going to be in that game.
Which is beat Georgia, which they probably will.
Then Georgia is probably going to get jumped by Alabama, and they're the next in line at number 5.
Yeah, so. The whole deal, the key to the whole deal was Oregon losing because it just pretty much pushed the guaranteed Pac-12 entrant into the tournament because it was pretty much the way it was looking there for a while. But now it's not so cut and dry with Utah. Even if they beat Oregon in the championship game, it's not a slam dunk they're going to get in there. They might. It's going to depend on some other factors and how the metrics they're using, if they're going to put them at 4 or not. But anyways, Alabama, hey, they've been in every one of them, and they might be again. So Bama fans will be happy there.
And Bama haters won't be, So,
hey, guys, thanks for watching. It's going to be a great week of football. Like, subscribe, share. Give us a comment below. Hit the notification bell. We'll have more videos. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.